Welcome to today's deep dive. We are jumping into a really fascinating stack of excerpts today.
Yeah, it's a really incredible collection of text.
It really is. It's dedicated entirely to the rules of money and the psychology of thinking wealthy.
Right. Which is a topic that carries a lot of baggage for, well, almost everybody.
Oh, absolutely. So the mission for you today, the listener, is we want to completely dismantle your preconceived notions about who actually gets to be rich.
And we're going to give you the author's exact blueprint for reframing your financial mindset.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because usually when we talk about wealth, there's this heavy expectation of a velvet rope, you know?
Like it's an exclusive club.
Right. You imagine standing on the sidewalk looking at this massive gilded door, and there's a bouncer with a clipboard checking your credentials,
Looking at your family name, your degree.
your current bank balance. And if you don't have the exact right pedigree, you're just not getting in.
But the core premise of this source material is that the velvet rope is a complete illusion.
It's just a barrier we've built in our own minds. Wealth isn't an exclusive club at all.
No, it's not. For the listener, this deep dive is really about stepping out of all that information overload and extracting the foundation-y steps you need to actually change your financial trajectory.
It's a totally radical reframing. Because, we spend so much time personifying money.
We do. We treat it like a judge sitting on a high bench handing out verdicts on our moral character.
Yes, we subconsciously think that if we're just, like, good people, money will eventually find its way to us.
And if we don't have it, we think this omnipotent force has deemed us unworthy.
But the author attacks that idea right out of the gate. And it hits hard.
It really does.
Yeah.
They make this blunt assertion that money does not discriminate.
It doesn't care about your race, your class, what your parents did, or even how noble your intentions are.
The text actually calls money inert, inanimate, impassive.
Impassive. That's such a striking word to use.
It is. It has no ears to hear your excuses, no eyes to see your struggles. It can't judge whether you are a worthy human being.
It's just a piece of paper. Or, I guess today, a line of code on a bank server.
Right. And the author points out that if you look at wealthy people, you won't find a unified moral baseline.
Some are really philanthropic, and some are totally selfish.
Some are brilliant, and some are, as the text plainly says, just stupid.
Wow. So there's no sorting hat for wealth.
Exactly. The deserving and the undeserving both have it. The wealthy are just rules players who stepped up and said, yes, please, I want some of that.
While the rest of us hold ourselves back with these money myths, saying, I am not worthy.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Because I kept thinking about a hammer while reading that section.
A hammer.
Yeah, like, money is like a hammer. It doesn't care who is swinging it. It just drives the nail.
That's a great analogy. It has no moral compass.
Right. It just performs its function based on the physical force applied to it. But I have to admit, reading this triggered some immediate resistance for me.
I'm not surprised. A lot of people feel that way.
Because, we all know the starting lines in life are incredibly staggered. Systemic poverty, lack of access to education, these are very real things.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's a bitter pill to swallow if you're starting from zero while someone else is starting on third base. Is the author completely dismissing systemic issues or just telling the reader to focus only on what they can control?
What's fascinating here is the psychological shift the author is demanding. They aren't acting as a sociologist analyzing global systems.
Right, they're being purely pragmatic.
Exactly. From a functional standpoint, focusing on the unfairness of the staggered starting line doesn't deposit funds into your bank account.
It doesn't change your balance.
No. By stripping money of its perceived judgment, realizing it has no senses to deem you worthy or unworthy, the author places the locus of control entirely on the individual.
So rule one is basically, anyone can be wealthy, you just have to apply yourself.
Yes. It's a highly protective, utilitarian mindset. If you acknowledge every external force holding you back, you create a comfortable narrative of victimhood.
Which might be totally factually accurate.
It might be. But it has zero utility in the pursuit of wealth.
You just have to pick up the hammer.
Right. And once you accept that money is just an inanimate tool waiting to be claimed, the immediate next step is figuring out what claiming it actually looks like for you.
Because you can't claim what you haven't defined.
Exactly. Which brings us to rule 2. Decide on your definition of wealth.
And the text gives this incredibly vivid, honestly kind of jarring example of someone who took this to the extreme.
Ah, the interest on the interest, friend.
Yes. The author talks about this highly generous friend who created a remarkably specific boundary. He decided he wouldn't consider himself wealthy when he was living off his base capital.
Mm.
He wouldn't even consider himself wealthy when he was living off the interest from that capital.
You had to go a step further.
Right. For him, the threshold of wealth was crossed only when he could live entirely off the interest of his capital.
It is compounding interest taken to a psychological extreme.
The interest on the interest guy calculating his earnings during dinner is wild.
Yeah, the anecdote where he goes out for a meal.
Right. He literally calculates if the interest he earned during the 2 hours of that meal covers the cost of the food.
He has out-earned his consumption while simply chewing his food.
That is insane.
Mhm.
But the author's own definition is way softer, isn't it?
It is. The author admits their definition was just having enough to not worry about having enough. They felt comfortable once they started counting their finances in thousands rather than dollars.
And the text lists all these other potential metrics, too. For some, it's a fleet of cars or having servants. For others, it's just cash in the bank to pay for a medical emergency.
It's a massive spectrum.
But if the definition of wealth ranges from having servants to just paying for an emergency, how is the listener supposed to pick a target?
Well, the core philosophy here is that it doesn't actually matter what the definition is. It only matters that it exists.
Just that you have a line in the sand.
Exactly. Human psychology is deeply susceptible to the hedonic treadmill. If you just say, I want a lot of money, you're guaranteeing dissatisfaction.
Because a lot is a moving target.
Right. When you get 10,000, your brain decides 20,000 is a lot.
So without a definition, you can't monitor or judge your success.
If you don't have a destination, you are just driving in circles. You never actually arrive, and you never give yourself permission to enjoy the wealth.
But knowing your destination, your definition of wealth is totally useless if you don't know how to drive there.
True.
Which naturally leads us into the mechanics of setting objectives and the brutal truth about what it takes to execute them.
This is where we get into Rule 3. Set your objectives.
The author uses this very grounded timetable method, right?
Yes, like planning a physical journey. You have to know what time you leave, when you arrive, the route you're taking, and what you do when you get there.
The text gives a perfectly distilled example. I am going to be a millionaire by my 40th birthday, and I shall make my money by running my own property development company.
It leaves absolutely no room for ambiguity. But the author puts strict criteria on these objectives. They must be realistic, honest, and achievable.
Especially that honesty part. Here's where it gets really interesting. Setting your objective isn't just wishing upon a star. It's plugging data into a GPS.
That's a good way to look at it.
If you tell the GPS you want to be a property developer, but you have no capital and refuse to learn, as the text points out, the GPS just says route cannot be calculated.
You can't input phantom roads or imaginary fuel and expect a viable route.
You just can't. And that requirement for brutal self-assessment leads to Rule 5, which is arguably the most confrontational sentence in the whole text.
The author's blunt assertion that most people are too lazy to be wealthy.
Yeah, right between the eyes. No softening the blow at all.
It's jarring, especially since people feel they work really hard just to survive. But the author is targeting the reluctance to do the directed, uncomfortable work required for wealth creation.
The text talks about the fallacy of relying on the lottery or inheritances.
People will gladly engage in the fantasy of wealth. They hope to be discovered, but they refuse to put in the labor to manufacture that reality.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what is the psychological framing here? Why do people want money by accident?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's because people want money by accident or luck so it isn't tainted with sweat and sacrifice.
Tainted. That's such a specific word. Why would hard work taint it?
Because trying your absolute hardest and failing is terrifying. Luck requires no vulnerability.
So if you dedicate 5 years and fail, it destroys your ego.
Exactly. The author is stripping that armor away. They are demanding the listener become a focused, ambitious, driven moneymaker.
And the text points to a roster of massive role models to prove this. Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Warren Buffett, Simon Cowell.
James Dyson. Peter Kellner, the Czech Republic's first billionaire.
Yeah, that list is all over the map in terms of industries. Software, airlines, vacuum cleaners. But what is their single shared trait?
They work their socks off.
Right. They do more in a day than most people do in a month. I mean, James Dyson built over 5,000 failed prototypes in his shed.
It's an unreasonable level of dedication.
So let's say you've swallowed that bitter pill. You're ready to outwork everyone. You've defined your wealth and set your GPS.
You're fired up.
Exactly. Now, your first instinct is usually to shout it from the rooftops. You want to tell everyone your new plan.
But the author says doing so is actually a fatal mistake.
Which brings us to Rule 4. Keep it under your hat.
It's a huge paradox, especially today.
Why does the author demand such strict secrecy?
There are a few reasons. First, negative opinions will inevitably discourage you. Second, giving away your ideas just creates competition.
Makes sense. But the third reason is really dark.
Yeah, people will get jealous because your self-improvement implicitly tells them that their lifestyle isn't good enough.
It holds up a mirror to their complacency.
Exactly. The author has a really stark view of the masses here. There's a quote, "Most people would rather watch television than drag themselves out of their pit of poverty."
Wow. Pit of poverty.
So the advice is, when people act how you are, just say, fine, don't preach. You can leave a copy of the book around, but keep your journey clandestine.
But wait, I have to push back on this?
Mhm.
In today's world of networking and building in public, keeping your goals a total secret feels completely counterintuitive.
It does feel that way.
Isn't there value in finding a community, getting mentors?
The author's stance on this is that gaining prosperity is best done alone, because getting religion of any sort and preaching to others breeds resentment.
So it's not necessarily about hiding from mentors, but hiding from your current peer group.
Yes, it's about protecting your nascent mindset from the negativity of those who are comfortable in their pit of poverty.
You have to protect the ambition until it's undeniably successful.
Exactly. Channel all that energy into execution, not performative talking.
So what does this all mean if we synthesize this whole journey for you listening right now? Money is just an impassive tool sitting on the table waiting for you to claim it.
It has no velvet rope.
Right. To get it, you must define exactly what wealth means to you. You have to set a brutally honest and achievable roadmap. You have to outwork absolutely everyone else.
And keep your mouth shut while you do it.
Keep it completely under your hat.
Uh-huh.
It's a blueprint that demands extreme personal accountability.
It really does. Which brings up something we really need to think about.
What's that?
This raises an important question. If money is truly an impassive, non-judgmental force that doesn't care about your past, then perhaps the greatest financial hurdle we face isn't the economy or the market.
It's not the external stuff at all.
No, it's the inherited, unspoken limits we subconsciously place on our own worthiness before we even wake up in the morning.
The limits we just accept by default.
Exactly. So, listener, as you look at your own financial goals today, ask yourself, are you driving toward a destination you actually chose? Or are you just driving the route someone else programmed into your GPS?